Hey, Kayla. Good to meet you. How are you? My name is Eric Niles, and you had sent me back a reply. So apparently, I'm making it through the process of these interviews, and I just wanted to reach out to you, answer these questions. And there's some good questions. They're holistic questions. The first one: what's my philosophy for fitness? I think as compared to the 25-year-old version of me, that would have had a much different answer. I think um, ultimately coaching people, kids, teenagers. I have an 18-year-old daughter. I myself was a 100-mile-a-week distance runner after Division I athletics and VO2 max stress testing and physiological performance. So I can relate to those kids. But then because I'm in my late 40s, I can relate to adults and hormone issues, stress, and all the holistic factors that result in strain when it comes to putting a periodized plan together. So my philosophy is to look holistically at kind of like a colorful wellness wheel. If I had one of those, I'd look at all the components that lead to well-being, which ones are really challenging for people: sleep patterns, nutritional factors, relationships, strain, hormone issues for middle-aged on up individuals. So you don't get caught in prescribing advice and expecting to treat a 50, 60, or even a 40-year-old like there's some 25-year-old kid who has maximal testosterone and recovery hormones. You need to map out periodized plans, taking into account stress and strain and the factors going on in people's lives. So throughout a calendar year how much you could beat them up with hockey player workouts, intense workouts, and at what point they need quite a bit of recovery. Balancing recovery with volume and intensity has always been the kind of the impetus of putting together training plans. I was certified back in the day with ACSM and NSCA, ACSM, NASM. So quite a few different certifications I took over the years. And that's my philosophy: holistic looking at factors to not allow overtraining to occur. Second to that would be looking at like the kinetic chain weaknesses in people's bodies. So National Academy of Sports Medicine was the first one I took that went in depth in that, looking at the kinetic chain of weaknesses and posture in areas that can break down if you just overload key areas but don't address the weaknesses in people's bodies. I have some notes over here I'm looking at. I guess that would summarize all of that for the first question. Second question: what attracts me to this job? Well, gosh, I'm an exercise physiologist who was a high-level national distance runner back in the day. And yet, every time I go through challenges in work and have to work outside my field, I'm always interviewing back in my field. I've actually worked in large-scale corporate employee health and wellness, even had a United Healthcare well-being director in those large entities. 5 to 7 years in corporate employee health and wellness was my industry long after being an exercise physiologist. So I'm inspired to just give hope to people. As a man of God, I give hope to people who have goals beyond just some, aesthetics of fat loss and being more fit. That does almost nothing for me these days. It's so you can hire a 22-year-old exercise science graduate, I suppose, who could get people fit. There's not much talent in that or life purpose. And so I'm going to go deeper into giving people hope and inspiring. Particularly those with obstacles are more enjoyable to me. That's what fires me up about this job. Thirdly, my understanding of nutrition. Well, I'd say I have as much detailed nutrition as a registered dietitian without being one. Bachelor's in health and nutritional science, master's in clinical exercise physiology. I got all kinds of integrative nurse practitioners, graduate level CNSs I know. I managed a weight loss hormone replacement aesthetic clinic for 2 years up in Kentucky and just moved back to Nashville. I've been a nutrition consultant, hence this little emblem for E-Bars, Organic Energy Bar, out of Franklin, Tennessee. In a holistic lifestyle advising, you have to go pretty in depth without drawing labs and going into functional nutrition lab analysis. That's more the role of a CNS or a medical provider. But in terms of macros and cycling and carb cycling, liquid meal replacements that are out there on the market to reverse insulin resistance, whole food meal planning, um, all the way from paleo or keto, all the way to juicing and high carb, knowing basically people's metabolic conditions to what type of plan would be best for them. I can go in depth and great deep knowledge of supplements. That's kind of really not the realm of health coaching, because you really got to draw labs before you just start prescribing a cocktail of supplements to people over the phone. I would rather reserve that for a medical provider for the liability. Although you can discuss in depth the mechanisms of how these things work, and then let them take that information to their provider to go get on, supplements. But I can describe what would be useful, what evidence-based shows them will improve endurance and mitochondrial health, and cleansing and probiotics. You can go a little bit off track, but reining it in and using evidence-based nutrition guidelines to protect us from liability. That's good information to give out to people. As far as my admin background, I started just knee deep in being a provider, exercise physiologist and cardiac rehab, and then fitness coaching on the side, 7 years of corporate wellness, mostly a coach, but I became a well-being director, did some contract work as a well-being director for addiction treatment company. I may have attached a reference letter to that. And I was a general manager of a sleep medicine clinic. And then I just spent 2 years up in Kentucky being the general manager of a company called the Ageless Center, bioidentical hormone replacement, aesthetics, weight loss. And so I am a sales manager right now of a nationwide retailer, which I can't wait to get out of because there's heavy quotas and stress of sales. But I am, I'd say I'm a quarter administrator. I can go in depth in that big overview, and I've had offers with United Healthcare and big corporations, and I'm still going to apply for those for the sake of stability of corporate well-being. But I'm in depth as much of just a one-on-one provider and an inspirer of people like a practitioner. So I can straddle the fence back and forth all day long, from administrator, marketer to provider, for sure, as an exercise physiologist and health coach. Thanks.